Hey Nick, how you doing? Right?
Good.
What's that you got there? Hot chocolate and
Custard.
cream, isn't it? Oh, yes, please. What's that going on then?
Apple crumble.
Oh, yes. I'm loving these choices. Hey, hey.
Hey.
How are you? Oh, good. Oh, good. My chocolate brownies are going down well, so I'm enjoying those.
Excellent.
Just the right texture as well. Just the right amount of ooh in the middle.
Squish.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a very important factor.
Definitely is. Yeah. Oh, that's so cute. So were you the secret benefactor that gave Frankie some chocolates? Dearly beloveds? Okay.
It's a secret.
I'm so impressed with I've forgotten her name. But yeah, Dearly beloved person.
Danielle.
Yes. Because yeah, even the wrapping paper is just so well done.
Do you know her?
Vaguely, yeah. Yeah.
What have we been up to today?
So I got a message today from Kim asking whether I wanted to be the board game host for EMF on Saturday, the 21st of November. So after they've had all the classes and between parties, we're going to have a little board game session. So I'll be hosting that. It should be fun. Yeah. I'm excited for EMF as well. That'll be lovely.
What's EMF?
It's
European
electronic.
Fantasia.
Yeah, that's the one. European, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, in Poland last year, and then I think it was Denmark, Copenhagen, the one before. I think. Yeah. Yes, that's been fun.
And this year, I'm assuming it's online, or
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, right.
Hey, Kitty.
Yeah, it's just for the one day, just the Saturday this time. Yeah.
Where's the puppy?
Staring at me while I ate my biscuits.
Oh. I meant to ask, what things did you label yesterday? Your label machine.
Bramble jam.
Ah, yes. Oh.
Is he getting very spoilt?
Not right now. No, a lot of it is just like trying to be like, hey Rizzo, here are the rules. And being like, oh, that's a rule that I didn't know before. Because he's a puppy, he's tiny, and like, yeah, he just doesn't know stuff yet. He just needs to go out. I've been sitting with him at the intersection outside our flat so that he just gets used to like traffic.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, puppies, man.
Oh.
But like, puppies are so cute, but they are really expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Like thousands of pounds. And then they don't sleep through the night. And then you need to clean their pee all the time. And you know, they give you them for free if they're older. And you don't have any of these problems. Why would you not make that decision for your life to be just like happier and less laden with responsibility?
Is this isn't your puppy then, I'm guessing? No. You're puppy sitting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I told Rory to remind me next time I think, oh, we should have a puppy about this experience because I'm not going to want a puppy.
Oh, no. Okay.
You dogs. Every fucking time.
Oh. That's good that you've had the chance to borrow one first, though.
Yes, absolutely. And he is doing very well, and he's actually learning quite well. We've taught him in the last 2 days how to like stay and just like not go for the treat, and that's a lot for a puppy to deal with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, Michaels. Hi, Ivan.
Oh, we are in good Michael representation.
Hey, Vina.
There's definitely something to be said for pet libraries. They used to let you borrow a dog to take them for a walk at university when I was there.
Oh, that's really sweet.
Our work does get to come and meet the doggies around exam time. I work for a students' union, so they don't get to take them for a walk, but they do get to like come and pet them.
Oh.
Stress relief.
Yeah. I think it's called Pause Against Stress.
Oh,
There was
That's really
therapests in our uni, but I could never go.
Yeah, they never did it at our uni, but I know Sheffield University did a room full of puppies. You could go and lay in around exam time.
Is that more or less stressful though? By the time
I
you got a
mean-
room full of puppies, it could be pandemonium.
Yeah, you know, you go in, you get covered in lick and wee, and I think that's pretty much it.
how are you, Bina?
All right. I am only working like an hour of overtime a day this week, so I'm doing better
That's good.
than
Better is good.
the last couple of weeks where I added my hours up and I've worked over an extra day a week for the last fortnight.
Oh,
So,
goodness.
Ouch.
yeah. But I always say this. I think after this week it'll calm down.
Oh, I hope so. I hope so.
I just did some dancing.
Where was that? What happened? What's that all about?
I started Lee and Dara's classes again.
Oh, yeah. How's that going?
It's good. This month's Chicago Blues, which I really like and isn't too like brain like it's something that comes like relatively naturally, but it's nice to have the prompt to actually move because otherwise I haven't really been doing it at all. And my knee is good enough that I can now.
That's
so,
good, yeah.
So that is nice. Feels nice. Feels nice to be moving.
That is excellent to hear.
A nice hairband you've got yourself, Frankie.
Thank you. I'm trying not to let it slip out. It may pop out halfway through, in which case ignore it. It's all part of the act.
I
How's
never
everybody
get hairbands to stay in my head.
I know, it's witchcraft.
Like, do other people just have better shaped heads for hairbands? Like, is there some trick that I'm missing?
I've heard there's these cheap ones which are hairbands with metal in them, which you can kind of bend. Have you seen those? Like gift markets?
They look like a tie, but they're not. Like, they look like a soft one, but they're not.
Exactly that.
Cunning. Lies is what you're suggesting. We all tie our hair back with lies.
Lots and lots of Kirby grips also works.
I'm a fan of these little butterfly clips. I love these.
Ooh.
Like, they're so good. I have just enough hair that is what I require. Who have we got? Hello, everybody.
Lisa's just arrived.
Hi,
Lisa.
Lisa. Hi, all of the Michaels. Hey, Kitty. Hey, Van.
Lisa, have you been for a lake swim?
Hmm?
Have you been for a lake swim?
Yeah,
No,
you
I've had a shower. Warm water like a, civilized person.
Oh my God.
It's
Who
all
are
right.
you? What have you done with Lisa?
I'm going swimming tomorrow. It's fine.
Ah, good.
How you doing, Jonathan? one efficient thumbs up. That's how we like it.
How are your baked goods, Frankie? Biscoff, whatever.
Oh my God, Katie, was that you? Katie, it was you.
Yeah, I thought it had the hallmark as well. As soon as I read the note.
I was like, both Zach and Martin independently, when I was like, oh my God, someone has sent me mystery baked goods. Look at this. Who could it be from? Like, they were both like, it's baked goods and poetry. Have you considered it's Katie? It's like, oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. You are smart men. I ate both of the cookies today. I went on a 7-mile walk, which in hindsight was a terrible idea. I am not fit. Oh, my feet are destroyed and I sweated through like 3 layers of clothing. It was terrible. But I took the cookies with me and they sustained me. I walked across 3 villages and back again thanks to those cookies. You probably saved my life. So thank you very much.
Speaking of baked goods, can I show you the especially good fucking cinnamon roll from my bakery?
So this is
Look at
like
this.
1 or 2 layers in of the rollness.
Ooh.
But it,
Oh my god.
It's just caked in cinnamon. It's so good.
Yeah.
Ooh.
it's like eating sand, but in the best way.
Oh my god. Also, may I point out in the creepiest way possible, there are 3 snacks on that screen right now. Rory, I love those dungarees. Kitty, whatever that colourful halterneck thing is under your black top, I love that. Oh my god. Oh my god. No way. No way.
It's got dogs on it.
Ah, it's amazing.
It also looks comfy as hell. Is it comfy as hell?
Where'd you get it from?
Where did you get it from?
It's me undies.
Ooh. Is it soft? Does it have wires in it?
No wires.
Oh, perfect.
Right. Okay.
I'm just listening
And they're multi, like they can be like normal straps or they can cross over. They're crossed over right now. I'm feeling very supported.
Oh my god! I want that. That's what me undies.
They have so many good patterns. I look at their website all the time and have yet to order anything.
Oh my god! Kissy, I can't take this.
So nice. Oh wow, this website's really cool. I'm gonna be ordering some underwear. I'm such a cute dog.
Is it my birthday? I didn't realise.
Storytime.
Oh wait, can I go and get some pie out the oven?
Go get some pie out the oven, my darling. We won't start without you.
Thank you.
Pens.
I'll take this moment to collect myself before I just slide off this armchair. Gordon's not here. Does anyone know if Gordon is coming tonight?
Gordon is here.
Is
I
Gordon
just
here?
combed, I just combed my hair back, that's all.
It is confusing.
Looks very slick.
Oh my
It-
god! I just
Beard is
scrolled
a
through to
sharp
find
look.
you.
I'm working on being a 90s villain.
That looks fantastic.
I'll get you, protagonist.
Who else? We got Malcolm as well. Hi, Malcolm, and hey, sweet peas. Ah, who else we got? Hi, Andy. Hey, Andrada. Hey, Ian. We must say hello to everybody. Very important. Now,
Hey, catch-up crew.
hi, catch-up crew. I hope you've been enjoying the title sequences. Well, now that I've got to grips with the technology to make title sequences. Now, who we were waiting for Lisa to return with pie. Lisa has not yet returned with pie. Is there any more new business? Anything else? Anyone else want to take their clothes off on camera?
I mean,
Is that going to demonetize the video on YouTube?
I don't know. I don't know how the YouTube algorithm works.
it depends on the nipple size. I'm having a bit of a scatterbrain day. Can you give like a quick recap of where we ended off last night?
Absolutely. Also, hi, Carmen. Okay, so Red, so the last letter that we had, Red had sent to Blue, describing when she was asked, so Blue had asked about hunger, and Red was saying, you know, the closest thing that I can sort of think to it was when I was, you know, 13 and I decanted myself because of Socrates and went and like stood on its uninhabited planet and waited for the sun to rise and for me to have like a revelation, and I had no revelation and I was lonely, and that's the moment that she kind of marked herself out as different and special, and that's what kind of got her got the interest of Commandant. That kind of moment. So that was the last thing that we experienced.
Ooh, can I make a prediction? Would that be all right? Real quick. Okay, I think the last couple of letters have been like, how do you eat? Do you eat? Which seems to me like some very, very like circuitous lesbian like approachment towards inviting the other person out for dinner.
Gotta eat something.
I thought it was more, do you experience hunger? Wait, do you experience thirst? I think it's about the thirst.
I'm gonna mute you all now, you bad people. Because I think it's story time, and you're gonna like this one. I mean, you've liked all of them. You're going to like all of them. This book is excellent, but you're going to like this one, I think. Right. Now, is everybody back? Lisa, do you have pie? Now, are you sitting comfortably? Then I'll begin. As the prophet says, everybody's building them big ships and boats. The emperor reigns uphill, flanked by his mummified co-rulers' temples, each served by their own high priest. Stone steps and highways link peak to peak along the ridge. Great cities grow and glow. Downslope spread the farms, and beneath those, against the shoreline, unprecedented as pomegranates in local logic, a seaport. Coastline trades occur, of course, and reed boats ply the highland lakes. Quechua sailors and fishermen know the shapes of the wind, can sail through any storm, rate themselves equal to any wave. The Western Ocean's horizon has always seemed a wall to them. Beyond this rests the world's end. But a genius who has spent his life counting the paths of stars and collecting bits of storm-cast wood and weed upon the beach has a theory that another land waits across the water. Another genius, a decade older than the first, has discovered a method for knotting reeds far stronger and more durable than any her mother's made. With it, a team under her direction could build a boat large enough to carry a village. What good is a land across the water, young men asked the first genius, when we have no way to get there? As soon grasp for the moon. What good for coastal fishing, young men asked the second, is a boat that can carry a village? Fortunately, geniuses understand that young men are often fools. So they sought the wisest being they knew. Each, separately, climbed the many thousand steps to the mountain peak, and on audience day they knelt before the current emperor's great-grandfather, mummified upon his throne, gold and jewel bedecked, radiant with age and command, and offered their gifts to him. And the secret priests who wait behind the emperor's thrones are not young, nor are they all men, and they can frame 2 points into a line. So the great grand emperor's word goes out, and so a port is built, and sailors flock, beckoned by adventure. Adventure works in any strand. It calls to those who care more for living than for their lives. They will sail together, to a new world. They will sail together to a land of monsters and miracles. Currents will bear their massive fish-tailed ships across, freighted with silver and tapestries, with knotwork and destiny. Red knots reeds with fingers calloused as wood. She was one of the second genius's earliest students. She nudged her to seek the great Grand Emperor's aid and held her elbow as they climbed. She is no warrior here, no general. She is a woman, taller than usual, who emerged from the woods one day naked and alone and was sheltered. She knots and weaves well because she has learned. When she has finished this ship, the production model, large enough to hold 2 villages at least, then it will sail, and she will sail with it, because someone needs to tend the knots if they break. She plays a tenuous game, this Strand. As she knots and thinks to herself, she decides she would describe it using terms from Go. You place each stone expecting it may do many things. A strike is also a block, is also a different strike. A confession is also a dare, is also a compulsion. Will the people of Tawantisuyu brave the ocean their murderers will one day call the Pacific, and, finding the swift currents, travel to the Philippines, or even farther, as others have travelled before? Will they, crossing waters so unfished that all a woman need to do to eat is dart her hand beneath the waves and pull the fish up, wriggling and silver, find new civilizations and make conquest or common cause? Will this alliance and trade, stretched across the Pacific, save Tawantisuyu when Pizarro's grotesque sails belly up from the south? Will, at the least, early contact with Eurasian plagues strengthen these people against them? Or will the tradesmen make it so far as a China ruled by the Ming, soon to reel from an enormous currency crisis that will bring the empire to its knees? A currency crisis brought on by the shifting exchange rate between copper cash and silver, of which the people of Tawantisuyu sport an ample supply. Stabilised, will the Ming duck the 4th-century cycle of empires rise and fall, and endure, growing, transforming, expanding to keep pace with the West's slow enlightenment and its overweening industrial revolution? Perhaps. Small likelihood, but we must seize each chance. The agency is not happy. Other agents have been caught or killed, cleansed from the weave or marooned in strands of which it's better not to think. Not Red, not yet, but she must work faster. Red's hands slip on the knot. She is not thinking to herself, she is explaining. And to whom is she explaining? Well. She looks out to the meeting of sky and sea, stands up, walks away. She feels observed. Might Commandant be watching her? And if so, for what? She has been so careful. She does not even think the sky's name, often. An old man catches her pacing on the beach and offers cloth for the sails, sample after sample. She flips through them. Too weak, too weak, too weak, too rough. And this one, what even is it? Bunched and uneven, more crochet than weaving. This one, she says. As the sun falls west, she perches on a rock and rolls the language of the knots between her oak-hard fingers. She feels each letter and word and wonders how long the sky and sea spent winding this cord, and who taught her the knot code in the first place. whether the iris bit her lip in frustration as she worked through a difficult passage. When the sun set, she takes the unravelled thread, snips it into lengths, and throws each length into the receding tide. Stars shine, and the moon. A dark shape slips along bright waves and dives. One by one, the seeker gathers the strands and ties them about her wrist so tight her fingers pale and stiffen. She makes a fist, tenses. Her skin splits beneath the cord and closes over it again. Red, who's waited motionless on the shore since sundown, sees something like a seal against the waves of light and wonders. Dear red sky at morning, don't shorten your letters. You ask if I've been lonely. I hardly know how to answer. I have observed friendship as one observes high holy days, breathtakingly short, whirlwinds of intimate endeavour, frenzied carousing, the sharing of food, of wine, of honey. Compressed, always, and gone as soon as they come. It is often my duty to fall in love convincingly, and certainly I've received no complaints. But that is work, and there are better things of which to write. You say you were 13. You do not... You seem so young to me, still, however long ago that may seem it was to you. My own folk are great gardeners. Our games are long and slow, and our maturation also. Garden seeds the past with us. Your commandant knows this already, whether or not it's considered need to know for you, and we learn from and grow into its threads. We treat the past as trellis, coax our vineyard through and around, and harvest is not a word for swiftness. The future harvests us, stomps us into wine, pours us back into the root system in loving libation, and we grow stronger and more potent together. I have been birds and branches. I have been bees and wolves. I have been ether flooding the void between stars, tangling their breath into networks of song. I have been fish and plankton and humus, and all these have been me. But while I've been enmeshed in this wholeness, they are not the whole of me. The thought of your disembodied network repulses me, but I look at you, Red, and see much of myself. A desire to be apart sometimes, to understand who I am without the rest. And what I return to, the meanness that I know as pure, inescapable self, is hunger, desire, longing, this longing to possess, to become, to break like a wave on a rock and reform and break again and wash away. This is a necessary part of any ecosystem, but it unsettles others, this inability to be satisfied. It is difficult. It is very difficult to befriend where you wish to consume, to find those who, when they ask, "Do I have you still?" when they end a letter with "yours," mean it in any substantive way. So I go. I travel farther and faster and harder than most, and I read and I write and I love cities. To be alone in a crowd, apart and belonging, to have distance between what I see and what I am. I am glad to know you love reading. Perhaps you should next write from a library. There's so much I want to recommend. Best, Blue. P.S. Socrates. I wonder if we knew any of the same ones. P.P.S. I kept noting your name at night, but this salutation seemed wiser. I've learned to take warning from delight. P.P.P.S. Of course, we're still going to win. Blue is in a high place at night. Wind blows. The air is cold, but she is not. Sharp rocks don't hurt her feet. Her job is to guard a growing thing, millennia in the making. A seed planted in the banked embers of the planet's heart that's riddled its slate surface with something like vines, sap, blood. Just beneath the surface, just waiting. It will bloom soon. Blue has fed it from time to time, as required. She has always known its purpose. A lion in waiting, a planet-sized trap to spring, seeds planted long before prohibitive treaties about down-thread interference. Blue is to watch it hatch, accomplish its purpose, then destroy its root system and leave no trace to be found or used by the other side. Garden has learned, with the slow patience of green things, how to prune enemy agents from the timeline, releasing ladybirds to their aphids, dragonflies to their mosquito larvae. Blue is still thinking of larvae when she sees red. Time stops. Blue carries nothing with her between strands except knowledge, purpose, tactics, and Red's letters. Memory is tipped and decanted into garden, life to life to life, always deepening, thickening, growing new roots and efficiencies. But Red's letters she keeps in her own body, curled beneath her tongue like coins, printed in her fingers' tips between the lines of her palms. She presses them against her teeth before kissing her marks, reads them over when she shifts her grip on motorcycle handles, dusts soldiers' chins with them in bar fights and barracks games. She thinks without thinking, often, of what she will name Red in her next letter, hides her lists in plausibly deniable dreamscapes on the underside of milkweed leaves in shed chrysalis and wingtip. Vermilion lie, scarlet tanager, Parthian thread, my red, red rose. She looks at Red. 13, alone, vulnerable, so impossibly fragile and small, and a letter rises in her throat like bile. I wanted to be seen. She sees her and breaks like a wave. She does not run the scenarios. She does not think, did Garden send me here to test me? Does Garden know? Does Garden want me to watch her die? She thinks nothing as the roots tense and twitch, as the planet blooms a mouth, a face, a body, a vastness rearing silent as owl flight in the perfect dark, a hunger with eyes and teeth, bred for silent, waiting years to scent one specific scent of nanoscopic implants, to hatch and devour one bright red element of its surroundings. It looks a little like a lion, truth be told, mane of pale blue cilia, more worthy of cinematic roars, though it will never make a sound, but for the size, the number of legs, the wings. It steps out onto the cold, sharp ground. It sniffs the air, inclines its head in Red's direction. Blue tears out its throat. Her teeth are very sharp. She has 4 rows of them. Her double-banked eyes see beautifully in the dark. Her 6 legs end in tearing points, rip the voiceless creature into hot, pulsing meat. It gets its own in. Good for the story she'll have to tell, she'll later think, when she can recover thought, when she can act again from something besides pure, obliterating need. And she bleeds in her wolf shape, but makes no sound. Nothing to distract Red from the absence of epiphany. The hollowing that left a space for another, the moment when she became Blues. Blue eats the carcass, all but its teeth and venom sac. That she tears carefully open on the rocks, tips a few drops into the hole it grew out of. The roots will lap it up, wither and die. Her story will be that the creature had soured, attacked her instead of its quarry. Enemy action, no doubt, having discovered the root system, made changes to it somewhere up thread. An understandable but embarrassing mistake. Left Blue too injured to attempt her own correction, and at any rate there were the treaties. Direct confrontation between agents so precariously down thread would be catastrophic for ambient chaos levels. The words fall into place like rain. Blue licks her bloodied snout, her paws her gouged shoulder. She needs to do one more thing. Slowly, keeping her wound out of sight, she walks where Red can see her. Keeping her distance, of course, and the words padded past in some dimness of mind. She does not look wounded, she is certain. She looks at Red and sees tears on her face. She stifles the urge to run, towards or away. She carries her hunger like a compass rose. Stars rose, they are a rose, right? Walks due south away from the north to which it points. Once she is out of sight, she tucks into a shallow cave and collapses, trembling, shifts her shape to human, finds her legs, her skin, the wound yawning larger and uglier than before, likely infected, needing care. She leans her back against the scalloped stone wall, closes her eyes, spreads her palm on the ground for extra support. She puts one hand on a letter. A letter to do Mrs. Levitt proud. Beautiful blue paper flecked with lavender buds and thistle petals, in a blue envelope with a red dollop of wax shutting it. There is no seal, no stamp, only red, red as the blood dripping from her shoulder. She stares at it. Then she laughs, hollow and bare, and she sobs, and she clutches the letter against her heart and does not open it for a long time. But she does. She reads it. Fever builds, sweat beads on her brow, but she reads it again and again and again. Much later, the seeker comes. She finds the gutted creature's teeth. She plucks the 2 largest canines, fixes them into her mouth, and moves towards the cave. There is nothing for her to find there, except blood. Dear Blue, I don't know what to say. Even perspicacious, almost prescient Mrs. Levitt lacks a model. Birthdays, yes. It's mine, by the way, to the extent I have one. Funerals, fine, on the occasion of a marriage, naturally. But she somehow neglects to frame a form for when your enemy saves... Shit. I'm sorry. I can't keep up the joke. And it's wrong to call you enemy. Thank you. For saving me, obviously, and for starters. I felt you climb down the braid. I am more sensitive to your footsteps, I think, than anyone alive. And everyone is alive somewhere in time. Even these digressions feel weak. I like them usually, my jokes. They feel like tacking in, not out, to the matter at hand. Less so now. I followed you. I apologize for that, for trespassing on your privacy as you made yourself what you had to be to win. I could not have beaten the beast alone. You're more ferocious than I am. Do you look around in turn as you read these lines, seeking me? I'm gone, dear Blue, up thread, and you should be as well. We're neither of us safe here, and the longer you remain, the less safe we become. You know the drill. Tremors spread from a traveller's foot, and though no other spider has grown so attuned to your tread as I have, the others aren't deaf. I'll have to see your eyes some other time. I leave you a letter, sealed in wax, a trace of perfume. Scent, for me, is a medium. I rarely use it for ornamental purpose. I hope I've selected a fragrance to your taste. I asked the buzzboy in London Next for a sample of your tea a few letters back, bought it to a parfumerie in Phnom Penh, Strand 7922, Century 33, if you happen to like the smell. I'll enclose the address below. Worked back and forth for a few years on the proper mix. Anyway, keep this. It's yours. It won't burn when you read the signature. It won't decay faster than any letter one woman in your beloved Strand 6, 19th century would write to another. The papers from Wuhan, Song Dynasty, handmade. Leave it in a damp place and it will rot. Mix it in water and you'll have a pulp. Destroy it on your own, in your own way, if you want. I won't mind. We all have our observers. And this letter is a knife at my neck, if cutting's what you want. It's so hard to move here and reply to your last letter. I feel, I can't say precisely what. I'm shaken. You know the edges of old maps that promise monsters and mermaids? Here there be dragons? I do not know what roads lead forward, but your letter hungers for reply. I've read your last missive and reread it, in memory, as you warned me I would so long ago, preparing myself for a fall. I see you as a wave, as a bird, as a wolf. My wolf with the 6 legs and double-banked eyes. I try not to think of you the same way twice. Thinking builds patterns in the brain, and those patterns can be read by one sufficiently determined, and Commandant sometimes is sufficiently determined. I think you'd like her. So I change your shape in my thoughts. It's amazing how much blue there is in the world, if you look. Your different colours of flame. Bismuth burns blue, and cerium, germanium, and arsenic. See? I pour you into things. I suspect you see me plain by now. Imagine me shifting, uncomfortable, exposed. My way was always the straightforward push in one direction without hesitation or restraint. I only worried you might view these long letters as the sign of a simple or a desperate mind. I worried, maybe you'll laugh, that you responded on sufferance. So, let me be clear. I like writing you. I like reading you. When I finish your letters, I spend frantic hours in secret composing my replies, pondering ways to send them. I can trigger any combination of chemical ups and downs with a carefully worded phrase. A factory within me will smelt any drug I seek. But there's a rush in reading and sending against which no drug compares. Speaking of exposed, if you have some grand plan, if the death your masters envisioned for my younger self was too quick and you'd rather see me disassembled for my parts, all you need do now is drop this letter where some other agent of my faction might find it. I could live with that. Well, not for long and painfully, but you take my meaning. So, in this letter, I am yours. Not Garden's, not your missions, but yours alone. I am yours in other ways as well. Yours as I watch the world for your signs, apophenic as a haruspex. Yours as I debate methods, motives, chances of delivery. Yours as I review your words by their sequence, their sound, smell, taste, taking care no one memory of them becomes too worn. Yours. Still, I suspect you will appreciate the token. I'll try for a library next time. I hope you understand my need for a change of plans. Yours, Red. Red runs the table to stop herself from thinking. In Strand 622, 19th century Beijing, she, uncomfortable in her sheathing of silk, but channeling blue, starts a debate about canal construction that feeds into a debate about public morality that spurs a principled, incorruptible bureaucrat named Lin to accept an imperial dare. If Lin clears drug-smuggling foreigners from Guangzhou, he will have funding from his infrastructure project. When Lin reaches Guangzhou and tries to break the drug trade, a war begins, and Red slips away. In 14th century Axum, Islamicized and strong in Strand 3329, Red, in shadows, stabs a man who's about to stab another man who's wandering home buzzed on espresso, sugar, and math. The man Red stabs dies. The mathematician wakes up the next day and invents a form of thought that, in another strand, much later, will be called hyperbolic geometry. Red's already gone. In 9th century Al-Andalus, she serves the right tea at the right time. In the diamond city of Zanj, she strangles a man with a silken cord. She seeds the Strand 9 Amazon basin with defanged versions of European superbugs 10 centuries before first contact. And when conquistadors arrive, they face locals by the millions, strong, thriving communities that won't perish by mere contact with the world across the waves. She kills again and again, frequently but not always, to save. And she watches over her shoulder. A shadow follows her. She has no proof, but she knows, as bones know their breaking stress. Commandant must suspect. A drop in her efficiencies would point to compromise. So Red throws herself into her tasks, works riskier assignments than Commandant would ever require, succeeds beautifully, brutally. Time and again, empty, she wins. She climbs up thread and down. She braids and unbraids history's hair. Red rarely sleeps, but when she does, she lies still, eyes closed in the dark, and lets herself see lapis, taste iris petals and ice, hear a blue jay's shriek. She collects blues and keeps them. When she is sure no one is watching, she rereads the letters she's carved into herself. All this running and murder merely passes time. She waits and waits. For the guillotine. She's been trapped, The one from whom she waits has fed Commandant the letter she left behind, and Commandant's just playing her out now, squeezing Red for work until the Chaos Oracle indicates she has marginally more value crushed. My dear cochineal. Or Blue, she lets herself think that name once in a two-mooned month, read her letter and recoiled. Red wrote too much, too fast. Her pen had a heart inside, and the nib was a wound in a vein. She stained the page with herself. She sometimes forgets what she wrote, save that it was true, and the writing hurt. But Butterfly's wings break when touched. Red knows her own weaknesses as well as anyone. She presses too hard, breaks what she would embrace, tears what she would touch to her teeth. She dreams of a morpho butterfly with wings spread large as a world. She strangles, screws, builds. She works. She watches birds. There are so damn many birds. She never heeded them before. Knowledge of them. Whose call is that? Which is male and which female? What's the name of the duck with the emerald head? Is all stored on the index, but when has she needed it? She planned to get to it one day. She plans to get to everything one day. But now she learns the names from books. She pulls from some from the index to save time and because books are heavy, but she does not leave the knowledge in the cloud. She repeats the names to herself. She carves patterns into her eyes. She burns 3 astronauts in their cockpit on a launch pad. Every cause needs sacrifices. The stench of seared pork and sour rubber catches in her lungs, and she flees up thread, lets no one see her weep. Collapses on the bank of the Ohio River, bends double, vomits in a bush, crawls away and cries out the rubber and the screams. She strips. She wades into the water until it covers her head. A flock of Canada geese dawn north and paint the sky green-black with the creaks of their wings. She stops the air bubbling from her mouth. The geese settle on the river. Their legs churn the water. They stay half an hour, only to lift off in a thunderclap of feathers. She emerges. One goose waits on the shore for her. She kneels. It lays its head on her shoulder. Then it leaves, and 2 feathers remain. Red clutches them to her for a long time before she reads. Later, farther south, a great horned owl takes the goose, and the seeker, weeping, eats its heart. When Red enters the clearing, only footprints and the cawed goose remain. My dear Miss Ovansky, I write to you in the dark before dawn, slowly, longhand, chalk on slate. Later I will translate these words into feathers. There is a small hill from which I can watch the sun set over the Otternase River. Every evening I see a red sky bleed over blue water and think of us. Have you ever watched this kind of sunset? The colours don't blend. The redder the sky, the bluer the water as we tilt away from the sun. I'm embedded now in a strand beloved of garden, one of the ones where this continent wasn't critically overrun by settlers with philosophies and modes of production inimical to our shift. On a research mission, tugging at and wicking fibres for easier braiding into other strands. Always a balancing act, of course, to give without losing, to support without weakening. Everything a weaving. I've been placed here to convalesce, I think. Garden doesn't always spell these things out, but does know my fondness for hummingbirds and migrating geese. I'm grateful. It is good to write with leisure. I hope while here to stretch my letters out, if only because they will have to find you at a lived pace. It will be a long time before I walk the braid again. I'm married and will soon wake my husband with rosehip tea and breakfast before sending him out to train. He's a good man, a runner and a scout, and the days are getting cooler, so there are a great many messages and supplies to send and share before the storytelling season sets in and blankets us indoors. It is such luxury to dwell in these details, to share them with you. I want to give you things. Have you ever tasted rosehips in tea or jam? A tart sourness that cleans the teeth, refreshes, smells like a good morning. A mash of rosehips and mint keeps me steepling my fingers all day long to keep those scents in my head. Sumac too. I think you might like sumac. I find myself naming red things that aren't sweet. Your letter. Your last letter. Be certain that I won't drop it where any of your fellows can read it. It's mine. I am careful with what belongs to me. Few things do, you know, belong to me. In Garden, we belong to one another in a way that obliterates the term. We sink and swell and bud and bloom together. We infuse Garden. Garden spreads through us. But Garden dislikes words. Words are abstraction, break off from the green. Words are patterns in the way fences and trenches are. Words hurt. I can hide in words so long as I scatter them through my body. To read your letters is to gather flowers from within myself, pluck a blossom here, a fern there, arrange and rearrange them in ways to suit a sunny room. It amuses me to think of liking your commandant. What a strange strand that would be. I keep turning away from speaking of your letter. I feel to speak of it would be to contain what it did to me, to make it small. I don't want to do that. I suppose in some ways I'm more Garden's child than she knows. Even poetry, which breaks language into meaning, poetry ossifies in time the way trees do. What's supple, whipping, soft and fresh grows hard, grows armour. If I could touch you, put my finger to your temple and sink you into me the way Garden does, perhaps then. But I would never. So this letter instead. I ramble, it seems, when writing to the darkness by hand. How embarrassing. I'm quite certain I've never rambled a day in my life before this. Another thing to give you. This first, for me. Yours, Blue. P.S. Should this find you near a library, I recommend Travel Light by Naomi Mitchinson. It's the same in all strands in which it exists. It might be a comfort to you on the move. I can tell you're moving a lot right now. P.P.S. Thank you for the letter. Blue walks in the hush light before dawn and looks for a sign. Her work here is slow but never boring. One of Blue's virtues as an operative is the thoroughness she brings to every life. Her husband will be important to the daughter of a rival's friend, And the conversations Blue has with him, the gifts she makes him, the dreams towards which she rocks him in their bed will spiral tendrils of possibility from this strand into others, send tremors to shift and shake the future's boughs in Garden's direction. It is a gift from Garden that her role here requires such thorough, deliberate indwelling. That to wander in the woods and think of birds and trees and colours is expected of her, is mission critical. Blue loves cities, their anonymity, their smells and sounds, but she loves forests too, places other people call quiet that are anything but. Blue listens to jays, woodpeckers, grackles, laughs at hummingbirds jousting on the wing. She holds out her hands for nuthatches and chickadees, black and white warblers, and they flit to her, make branches of her fingers. She strokes sapsuckers' crests without naming the colour, makes a needle and a thread of the thrill she feels in touching it, then stitches it into the joy Garden expects her to feel in the woods. There's a scar on her shoulder in every shape now, a puckered tracery of trauma. Wolves shy from her, love her from a distance. Because she is expected to amble in this way, it's relatively easy to disguise her searching. Because she has been turning the last season's leaves, picking up crow skulls, the shed and drying velvet of antlers, fox's teeth, it is not at all noteworthy that she goes still as prey in the presence of a great grey owl, its wizard face inclined to her, the sheen of its feathers ruffling a colour like the retreating night. It stands, serene and dignified, in the hollow of an oak, and looks at her. Then it hawks up a sizable pellet, ruffles itself, and flies away. Blue laughs, sudden, sharp, and stoops to pocket the pellet. She turns it over in the fingers of one hand without looking at it, just another curio for her collection. She does not take her hand off it until she is back home. She waits until sunset, when she can be looking at the scarleting sky as she cuts carefully into the pellet and finds something there to read. Years later, a seeker scours the area just shy of the speed of sound, blurs in and out of sight, and carries tiny fragments of bone back into the braid. Dearest Lapis, yes, I've been moving. They have us, well, me, really, all over these days. Up thread and down, new assignments gathering by the minute. Your side's tricks and traps took their toll, so our missions multiply to make up the difference. But enough of the war. Enough to say, I write at haste. I was about to ask you to forgive my brevity. As I went to write that, though, I saw you shaking your head. You were right back when. I have built a you within me, or you have. I wonder what of me there is in you. Thank you for your letter, more than I can say. It found me in a moment of hunger. Words can wound, but they're bridges too, like the bridges that are all that Genghis left behind. Though maybe a bridge can also be a wound. To paraphrase a prophet, letters are structures, not events. Yours give me a place to live inside. My memories of you spread through millennia, and each highlights you in motion. This picture of you at home, with husband, with rosehip tea, with sunset and river, swells my heart. A stippling of sea skin indicates the whale beneath, or dots of sky shape a bear light years big. So I trace your life now from these hints. I imagine you waking, sleeping, watching geese, working hard outside with arms and back and legs and period technology. I will find some sumac when next I'm where it grows. I confess I'm only familiar with the poison variety, which I don't think you mean. Perhaps someday they'll assign us side by side, in some small village far up thread, deep cover, each watching each, and we can make tea together, trade books, report home sanitized accounts of each other's doings. I think I'd still write letters, even then. Read the Mitchison, loved it, though that seems too quick a summary. I get what you mean about words now. It hit me, especially the dragons and Odin and the ending. I had a harder time with the Constantinople section. I may be missing some context there, though I can see what place it holds in the book, and the trickery reminds me of pieces of Don Quixote. But the final revelation about the kings and the dragons, yes. Funny how we always think of knights as fighting dragons, when in fact they work for them. Garden seems to like roots, and this book roots in rootlessness. Are you a tumbleweed then? A dandelion seed? You are yourself, and so remain as I remain, yours. Red. P.S. Owls are fascinating creatures, but it's harder than I thought to convince them to take food. Maybe this one didn't trust me. P.P.S. I don't mean to unnerve you, but are you seeing shadows? I may have picked one up. No proof yet, and I may well be paranoid, but paranoia doesn't mean I'm wrong. Commandant hasn't let on she suspects anything, at least not yet. Take care. P.P.P.S. Really, that book. In a moment of daring, I commended it to the attention of a few major critics in Strand 623. Hard to generate momentum, but you never know. New strands rise all the time. Send me more.
Oh, I love it. I love it. It's so good.
They're being so cute.
This is pulling out all of my feelings in all of the best ways.
Mm-hmm.
Their relationship has evolved really quickly.
I mean, what is time?
True.
But I love that. Like, I love how we've read like that much. Like, this is not a long book, and we have only just about got that to the halfway point. But it doesn't. I don't think it feels forced. Like, it feels natural that their feelings for each other have kind of developed. It's not like, oh, now they're in love. Where did that come from? Like you know,
I'm sorry. Finish. As someone who's been in a long distance relationship too, like the longing there, you can fucking feel it, and that's a very relatable feeling, I think.
Yeah.
Right now,
Really relatable.
Well, why did she decide to save her life though? Why did she decide to save her life?
I don't think she really did decide. I think it was what she had to do because she had each other. They like each other because they like each other because they're friends.
They're time lesbians, Harold. Also, incidentally, by the way, like definitely hard recommend. Naomi Mitchinson rules. She was a Scottish sci-fi and fantasy author, and she's like real good. But she did it in like the 40s when no one gave a shit about Scottish sci-fi authors, let alone women who did it.
I actually, I just ordered Travel Light today. So if it arrives before the end of the week, and if I manage to read it in time, I don't know how long it is, but maybe it'll be the next Storytime book.
Yeah, nice.
That would be pleasing.
I would say this is our, I don't know, is it the best romance so far?
Oh, by far.
Yeah, I ship it.
It's the only one where one of them isn't an absolute douchebag.
Yeah,
exactly. The Night Circus was extremely beautiful, but this, yeah, and in fairness, they are actually like they have their own moral code, but they sort of just what they actually do is march through time, like killing people and changing things in order to change things. So that has its moral ambiguity, but at the same time, to each other, they are so far it seems quite excellent, and that is rather beautiful.
I just finished. I've been catching up, and I just finished the Night Circus today. And yeah, that love story, I was not up for it.
Quick love story. There's two in that.
The Marco and main character.
Oh.
I mean, you might not be up for Marco and Celia, but were you up for Bailey and Puppet? Because that was
sure. For sure, I was so up for Bailey and Puppet. I also wanted Tsukiko to have like a lesbian thing with someone.
I wanted her and to get together so bad.
I had like queer energy from Tsukiko from the beginning with the tattoos and stuff, and I was like, come on, get queer love. But no, we got fucking Marco. But also, Frankie, your decision of voice for Franco didn't help because he was always sounding really blasé, like I really love you, and I was like, oh my god.
Thanks, man.
Your delivery of those letters, like in tonight's session, though, was just exquisite.
Thank you so much.
I think it'd be really interesting to know if I would interpret this the same way if I was reading it myself. Because there's so much of I think there's quite a lot of your interpretation in there.
Oh, almost certainly. Yeah, I was like, I hope I'm not like pausing too much. I'm aware that I do tend to do like.
It's perfect.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It really is wonderful. Thank you.
It is really good. It is a joy.
Pacing, Frankie. It's actually a hard thing to do.
Yeah. Oh my God, my heart follows on along with my brain, and I think that's one of the beautiful things about how you've been reading this.
I mean, I'm sure you've read Malcolm's very informative document that says everyone should pause more when they're reading. Pause more, pause for longer.
Because it's all about the delayed gratification. Sorry. No, not be funny. We should say goodbye to the catch-up crew. We should say goodbye to the catch-up crew. I hope you're enjoying this. Oh, also, side note, tomorrow night, you're going to really enjoy tomorrow night. Okay. Catch-up crew. We love you. We are yours. Yes. Or I am. I can't speak for everybody else. That's for them to decide. But